We were just talking about crime in our city. Obviously, it's an issue provincially as well and federally. All three levels of government have done what they can do to make us all feel a little bit safer. Today, the Ontario government introduced another piece of legislation they say is designed to protect communities and keep safe streets. The minister responsible for this really big and extensive piece of legislation is Ontario Solicitor General Michael Kerzner, and he joins me now. Welcome back to the program, Minister.
It's great to be with you, Deb.
So I read through all of the materials on this. I mean, to say this is soup to nuts on fighting crime is a bit of an understatement. Give us in a nutshell what this particular piece of legislation does overall, and then we'll get into some of the specifics.
Yeah, thanks very much, Deb. Well, what this piece of legislation does is build on a number of bills that we brought in fall and spring. Certainly, it's been an honor of a lifetime to be here in this role since June of 2022 and to help the Premier advance the public safety message that somebody's there to help protect Ontario. What this bill does specifically is it does a few things, and I've announced it in some announcements recently, Deb. We're cracking down on drug use on transit by empowering special constables and providing them with the tools they need to act and direct people to stop using illegal drugs and to have them removed and make arrests if necessary from transit here in Toronto, Ottawa, and on the GO Metrolinx, transit. We've also are cracking down on commercial landlords that are harboring people that are conducting themselves illegally and saying you can't hide under a veil that you don't know what's going on. So there'll be consequences for commercial landlords who knowingly do it. We're also making sure that we're updating the towing regulations in Ontario so that somebody is not taken advantage of by paying exorbitant fees to have their vehicle towed from a roadway. So we're going to move in that direction as well.
So, Minister, let's pause there for a minute because I mentioned that when I said you were going to be joining me before 3 o'clock, because I think, that's always a concern, whether you've got a new car or not, that something happens, you blow a tire, something goes wrong with the electronics in your car, and you find yourself maybe late at night, maybe with your kids on the side of the 401 or the 400, and you're at the mercy of tow trucks. So specifically, what are you doing to make it safer? I know a few years ago you brought in tow zones. Are they continuing where only licensed tow truck drivers are able to come and get you in those areas? I mean, what specifically are you doing in this piece of legislation?
Well, one thing that we're doing is we're establishing storage rates, an example, to establish a maximum rate. And we want to ensure that if a car breaks down on the highway, it doesn't turn into a financial disaster. So we're going to strengthen the oversights and make sure the authorities know that we have a zero tolerance of people that will be taken advantage of by having a breakdown in a car. And we're going to stop what we call predatory towing operators from preying on drivers in distress.
So I'm going to pick and choose a few here. As I said, I started to make a list to do my homework, and I at the second page, I stopped writing because there was so much in this bill. So let me grab a couple that grabbed my attention. You talked about canine teams in correctional facilities and maybe extending that to people who are in correctional facilities. Help me understand that. Are you saying that we don't use canine teams to sniff out drugs and other things of inmates, only people visiting? What do we currently do, and what do you want to do?
Well, we've strengthened the oversight to reduce dramatically the amount of contraband that's coming into our correctional facilities. But there's many ways that we can enhance that even further. The canines have a role to play. The enhanced technology that we brought into our correctional systems are very important. And we've made dramatic changes just in the protocols, Deb, just in the last few years. And we've seen results. And most importantly, and you know this, Deb, and I really appreciate how you've reported it, the correctional system was brought to its knees. When Doug Ford came into office in June of 2018, this is what we found. Very weak oversight, 8 jails that were closed, 20% of inventory taken offline, and we said, no way. So we came forward with a plan to build and to add more spaces, and most importantly, put in oversight and put in measures that would reduce the amount of contraband coming in, and that's what we've done.
So another one that caught my attention is the potential for automated license plate recognition on Ontario's provincial highways, the big ones, the 400, I'm guessing is what you're talking about, to combat retail theft. Tell me about that.
Well, the ALPRs, which are the automated license plate readers, have proven very successful with police services across the province. It has allowed them, when a car is even traveling at high speed, to recognize the license plate, to identify them, and to help, make sure that that person is not engaging in an act of criminality. What we have now found is that those pieces of technology could have other uses as well. And to combat retail theft, some of the malls already in Toronto have brought in this technology, put it stationary as opposed to be, Deb, in a moving police car, and to be able to help read license plates of vehicles coming and going. And you know what? Again, this is important. We work very closely with the Retail Council of Canada. They were representatives of them were here today. I meet with them all the time, and we're very concerned with a person who goes into a shopping mall and should have a positive experience. So whatever both the owners of shopping malls can do to make people feel that much more safer, we're going to support that. But the ALPRs play an important role, and we're happy they're being deployed for this.
So something that is relatively new, your government brought in a couple of years ago, is the Inspector General of Policing. And I think people are waking up to that change because, of course, we've now had two issues that have been sent to the new Inspector General of Policing, both associated with Toronto Project South, obviously the big issue initially, and then more recently, the issues of anti-Semitism. What changes are you making in the Police Act? I saw a notation about the Inspector General of Policing. What's in this legislation?
Well, what we're doing, Deb, specifically, is ensuring that we're strengthening the communication between ourselves and police boards across Ontario. The role that we want to have is to make sure that our priorities are transmitted to the board. The role of the Inspector General is to continue on and to make sure that if a board or police service is not hitting the adequate and effective policing standards that they should, then the Inspector General will have a continuing role to inspect it and to hold people accountable. And that's important. The alignment of the government's priorities on public safety is very important. And what's in this piece of legislation is moving forward that the Solicitor General will communicate to police boards across the province what our priorities are. And we're not going to apologize for being a tough on crime government. We're going to let all the boards know this is the priorities of the government, and please be aware of it.
I have to say I got through probably a quarter only of the notes that I had made for our conversation. It is a pretty extensive piece of legislation introduced today by Ontario Solicitor General Michael Kerzner. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Really appreciate being with you. Take care.